Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Damme and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today I'm going to binge watch 10 horror movies on Netflix, let you know which ones are worth watching and which ones might not be. Alright, and it is 10:15 in the AM. I'm going to start my first one and then come back when it's over and let you know what I thought about it. I'm going to start with Don't Knock Twice. Alright, so Don't Knock Twice is a pretty good little horror movie. Now, it does kind of follow some basic formulaic stuff, so I can kind of see why this one wasn't a big hit. But if you're wanting to watch something that's kind of new and polished, Don't Knock Twice is pretty good. It is a R-rated level horror movie, so there is some gore. It is not a gore fest, but it is a little nasty. It's a little dirty. It's darker than I expected it to be. It reminded me of movies like The Ring. If you're a fan of The Ring, I think you'll probably like this one. It is flawed in a number of ways, but that's going to be the case with a lot of these that aren't big, famous horror movies. But this is a pretty good little gem that I know had a theatrical release, but just didn't really catch on, and I think it deserves more eyeballs than it likely got. Alright, and in a similar vein, I'm going to watch The Super, which actually stars Val Kilmer. It looks kind of odd, but it's about a building in Manhattan that is haunted or possessed. But I'm going to watch it, come back, and I'll let you know what I thought about it. Alright, so The Super, not as good as Don't Knock Twice, but worth watching. And when I say not as good, it's similar in a lot of ways. It's very polished, it's dark, it's moody. It looks like one of the bigger budget ones that I'm probably going to be watching on this list, but it's got more flaws than Don't Knock Twice had, one of them being this bizarre performance from Val Kilmer. He's got heavy makeup on, a thick accent, and I'm fairly certain almost all, if not all, of his dialogue was dubbed maybe by somebody else. I really don't know what happened, but it kept taking me out of the movie. However, this one had some really good elements too that I liked, but it's about a super in a building in Manhattan, like I described, and there's some very odd things going on in this building revolving around his family, and it is also dark. It surprised me. The actress from Starry Eyes, which is one I really like, she's in an opening sequence that really set a great tone for this movie. I thought it was a great way to intro this movie. If you don't know what Starry Eyes is, I just did a list of 20 horror movies on Amazon Prime. I'll put a link to that video in the description below. But let's see what's next on the list. Mercy Black. So I sort of looped these together, or grouped them together. I don't know why I said looped. I guess I'm getting a little bit loopy. It's been 3 hours of horror movies, and I'm fine, but I'm starting to dread this roughly like 20-hour binge. But Mercy Black is a fairly recent release. It looks dark, moody, just kind of like the others. I'm interested enough to see it, so let's check it out. Alright, so Mercy Black was a misfire. It's not good. It's disappointing, though, because it really could have been. It looks good. It's produced well. The performances are good. It's got a good cast in it. I kind of liked all the leads that were in it. I thought they were great. The concept is good. It's like I said, it's got a lot of good things going for it, but it ultimately just felt very disjointed and sloppy, and some of the scares that probably were supposed to be pretty scary were just kind of almost silly. This one is so bad. The terrible thing is it's not so bad that it's now worth watching again. It's in this sort of weird area where I really don't recommend it at all. So unfortunately, I'm going to extend, and it was almost 2 hours, so I'm going to be extending my binge watching session by about 2 hours. So just to play it safe, I'm going to watch a couple of classics that I haven't seen in a few years and review those because I've never done them on the channel before. But let's start that segment of this video off with Scream. So, I now remember why I like Scream so much and why everybody likes Scream so much. I'm not going to say it's Wes Craven's best, but it's certainly like some of his strongest work. After having so many hits in the 80s, you would think he might have like spent himself. But then he comes back in the 90s with Scream, which has a completely different tone than, Elm Street and his other hits from the 80s. it's got its own thing, and it's got commentary on other horror movies, which was kind of unheard of at the time. It did things you don't expect, like introducing Drew Barrymore, who's very famous in the 90s, introducing her in the beginning, only to kill her off within 3 minutes, I think, is the runtime that she's on film. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Really surprises the audience. Now, obviously, you've probably seen it if you're watching this video, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to another one, but if you haven't watched it in a while, I think you'll be surprised at how well Scream still holds up. So on that note, I'm going to give an even older one another shot with Gremlins, which I'll just let you know, if I enjoy anything else on this list more than Gremlins, I'll be sure to point out that fact. All right, I enjoyed Gremlins. It is getting a little harder to stay awake for these movies. This is going to be rougher than I thought, but there's a reason Gremlins is such a classic. The funny thing about Gremlins is it was actually rated PG when it came out because PG-13 did not exist, and Gremlins itself is one of the reasons. Indiana Jones, and maybe a couple of others are the reasons that PG-13 movies exist. And that's a little fun thing about it, but the thing I really like about Gremlins, aside from all the just nostalgia and the practical effects and everything, is even though it takes place during Christmas, you can enjoy this one year-round. As much as I like Scream, I'm starting to lose my mind a little bit. This is the most fun I've had doing this so far. It could be a little bit of like dementia setting in. It could be the fact that Gremlins is just the best. All right, now for two honorable mentions that I'm not watching. One is Insidious. It actually gets added on the 9th, which is like right after I post this video, so I'm not going to get to watch it. I love that one, though. I really enjoy it. It does get a little weird, and the wheels come off towards the end, but that's also kind of what I like about it. It's got a lot of really fun elements on top of just some like horrifying ones. Just a kind of perfect combination, in my opinion. And then the other one is Autopsy of Jane Doe. The only reason I'm not rewatching it is because it was on my last horror list. It was actually number 1. I had a lot of fun making that list, so if you want additional horror recommendations, be sure to check out the link to that one in the description as well. And while you're at it, if you're still watching the video and you're new here, definitely click that subscribe button and be sure to click the little bell icon because YouTube is doing a horrible job of notifying you when I put new videos up otherwise. All right, The Cell. Just finished watching it. I think I forgot to intro it. This is way more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But I've loved The Cell for a long time. The weird thing about The Cell is it doesn't quite meet the requirements for a horror movie. But the visuals in this movie are like an acid trip. And it absolutely is a horror movie. It just doesn't fit into the traditional, boundaries of one. Yet it's absolutely horrifying. If you've never seen it, Jennifer Lopez plays a psychologist that gets implanted into the mind of a serial killer in order to find his latest victim, his last victim. And the visuals are like the dreams of a serial killer, and they're, afraid to say it, but beautifully realized in this movie. They're terrifying, but also just so stunning to look at. Really, even though the story's a little bit loose, I love watching this one just for the visuals. And the story isn't bad. It's fairly good. It's just not great. I gotta get some coffee. Oh, hang on. What's next? Friend Request. One I was not excited to see, but I've heard good things, so let's see what we got. I've upgraded to coffee. By the way, if you want some of this sick Flick Connection merch, there's a link to that in the description. And the shades are just because I can't take the lights anymore. But Friend Request, like I said, I heard it was better than it should have been. I was not excited about seeing a movie called Friend Request. It sounds like a really dumb idea about someone getting haunted through social media. However, because my expectations were so low, this one's actually surprisingly good. Now, it's not a strong recommendation coming from me, but if you're like me and you didn't watch this one because you assumed the worst, It's not. It's really not the worst. It actually works fairly well. It has some terrible elements to it, but the social media angle is actually not one of them. It actually works pretty well. The story of this like outcast girl that just doesn't find any love through essentially Facebook, that is then able to sort of use that post-mortem to terrorize people. Like I said, it plays out well. I mean, people are legitimately terrorized via social media, and if a ghost wanted to terrorize you that way, it almost makes more sense it would be able to do that than by knocking books off of your shelves. So it worked. It's got some visuals and some special effects that I did not see coming. Some decent performances. I mean, it might be all the caffeine talking, but not one of the favorite ones that I've watched so far, but one of the biggest surprises. All right, and the next one I've got on the list is called Be Afraid. This one appears to involve like sleep paralysis, which is actually a fear of mine. So I'm looking forward to this one. I hope it doesn't put me to sleep. I'm getting very tired, but I've only got a few left, so let's see if we can make it. It's bad. It's not good. It's not good at all, man. I actually have a headache from it. Not because it's that bad, but because now I have to extend this binge another little bit. But I would steer clear of this one. It's got some really weird performances. It's pretty heavy-handed, too. Like, I mean, I kind of knew this one was not going to work in the first 15 minutes. If you want to give it a try, you're more than welcome to, but you know, Mercy Black I thought was bad. This is somehow way worse. And to boot, the Netflix recommendation percentage shit they have going doesn't work at all. But I can't complain because that's part of the reason that I have however many views. Are they here? Yeah. Yeah, however many views you see right here. All right, hopefully I just have 4 left. So I'm going to go with 2 fairly safe bets, and then 2, I'm going to roll the dice. There are 2 hidden gems that I think are going to be pretty good. I'm going to close out with those. So let's see. 4 movies, that's another 6, 7, another 7 hours maybe. All right, so I said I was going with a safe bet. I decided to watch Final Destination. I have not seen Final Destination, the original one, since it first came out almost 20 years ago. The thing I like about, I don't love the Final Destination series, but the thing that I do like about it is that it is different. And it's also fairly self-aware in that it knows it's a little bit of a silly movie. Like, you know, the death scenes and stuff are somewhat serious, but they also, the movie's aware that it's kind of a fun, almost funny gag, and it didn't really become a comedy, but it didn't also take itself too seriously, so I think it rides a pretty good line. All right, so the coffee's not cutting it, so I've got a couple of these. Got them at a truck stop, and they're supposed to keep you awake. I should clarify. I got him in a truck stop bathroom. The guy, it was from a doctor. The guy said his name was Dr. Midnight, so we should be good to go. What did I just watch? I Know What You Did Last Summer. This one is actually about to leave Netflix at the end of the month. So at the end of May, it'll be gone. If you're watching this movie in the future, apologies, but there's not too much to say about it. This is a good 90s one. It's a good pairing with Scream. It's honestly, even though it's got a silly title, it's almost as good as Scream. Whoa, it's bright in here. But another one, definitely try to watch it before it's gone. Like I've said a few times, it's better than you probably remember it was. But here we are. I've lost my watch. I don't know what time it is. But I've got 1 movie left. Unfortunately, it's 2 full hours. So I'm getting ready to watch Stonehearst Asylum, and then I will let you know what I think of this last horror movie. I'm starting to have a negative reaction to the word horror movie. I'll let you know how the what the last one was like. Okay, so this one's labeled as horror. Unfortunately, it is not a horror movie. It's almost one. What was it? No, it's not Shutter Island. It's Stonehearst Asylum, which is about a insane asylum that also stars Ben Kingsley. It's actually based on a short story by Edgar Allan Poe, so that's kind of cool. The movie itself has kind of an odd tone. I would in no way call this a bad movie, but it's got like a silly tone at times and then a very serious tone that there's nothing wrong with that, but they never seem to really mesh. The movie doesn't quite seem finished. It seems like it's like a few dollars short of a donut. But Kate Beckinsale's in it. Smoke show. I think that's the only reason she's in stuff anymore. And who else? Michael Caine is in it. So, you know, there's Michael Caine. It's not a horror movie though. I got one more in me. Oh my god. Okay. So we got a winner. We got a good one. This one I've actually been putting off for a really long time. Kind of a shame that I did. It's called I'm now winded from getting up and getting on this stool. It's called Backcountry. It's about a couple that go on this intense camping trip, and they encounter a black bear, like a really big bear. So this is a little odd. It is, I would classify it as a horror movie. It's very slow getting in. There's not a lot that happens. It's low budget, but it builds tension well. The slow bits actually play out really well. The dialogue between the couple is good. There's a couple little tough spots they get into before the bear shit really hits the fan. But this one kind of took me by surprise. I was enjoying it, but then it really sort of took off at a certain point and became a pretty good little like survival horror type thing. Nothing crazy, weird, or supernatural with this one. Just a good, straightforward, scared to death of a bear in the woods. You know, it's got nothing on movies like The Edge, but still, for a good little Netflix find, it would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to do much worse than this for like a little indie horror movie that you probably would not have watched otherwise, which is why I just spent a day, like a full, did we do a full day? I think we did like a full day. I'm gonna go get some sleep. Ooh. Was that blood? Yeah. Apparently your eyes can bleed from watching too much binging. Oh. So, if you like this type of content, I hope you've already clicked the subscribe button, but I put out new videos like this all the time. If you want to support the channel, you feel like you get a lot of value out of it, maybe you see a lot of movies you wouldn't have otherwise seen, or save you some money renting movies, and you want to support the show so I can do more and more content and better produced content, so it's not just me sitting here with a camera and two lights, feel free to become a Patreon supporter like one of these fine people. There's a link to that in the description. There's an Amazon link. If you do your Amazon shopping through that, it'll help the show out. There's the merch. Whatever you want to do, but likes, comments, shares are always appreciated. But I will keep making episodes, probably never again exactly like this one, but I'll keep making them kind of like this one. As long as you keep watching, but thanks for watching this one, and you will see me on the next one.